For over 2 years, Fantail Studios has been on an incredible journey filming Lucky Te Koha and the Kingdom Brotherhood team as they share the radical healing power of Jesus Christ with the Mongrel Mob Kingdom and the Whakatane Black Power MGs. As this feature film, Mana Atua, meaning the greatness of God, nears completion, we're believing this will be a movie that not only showcases how relentless and unconditional God's love is, but this will also give viewers the opportunity to look beyond the gang patch and see the hearts of the individuals behind them. As we eagerly anticipate the release of Mana Atua, we'd like to introduce some of the key individuals that we've had the pleasure of meeting along the way. Joining me in the studio today, I have the pleasure of unpacking this amazing journey with Lucky and one of his key leaders, Darryl Pye.
So today in the studio we have Darryl Pye, Pastor Darryl Pye, North Island leader of Kingdom Brotherhood. Good to have you here, my brother.
Good brother.
Always good having you around us, eh?
Amen.
So thanks for coming in and taking the time, Dee, to come and share your heart today, on some of the questions we've got for you. The first one is who is Darryl Parr?
Who's Daryl Parr? Half caste Māori, Ngāti Kanganu, it's my mother's side, and my father's from England, so that's what makes up Darryl Pye. And yeah, just a person God's created to be a blessing to people, so yeah, that's me.
Hey, how was life growing up for you, Dee?
Growing up in a family where I suppose Christianity wasn't there, and my dad he liked to drink because he loves his soccer and loves being in the Navy. That's what he was, and my mother being who she was. There was a lot of parties that happened with the family, and growing up in a small community, I suppose the deepest part in my life was changed. It was at 5 years old when I was molested, and my life sort of changed from there. In the country, and a dark shadow of my life, and then just suppose nobody even knew this, so I just put on a happy face and like to do smile and wave, and try and hide your shame. But but in life you sort of carry that because you don't know how to get it off you. So I never told my parents, never told anybody, and it sort of continued. Just felt sort of like a bit of a black shadow following me through my life, and even come to intermediate where my oldest brother died. He was 17 years old, Brother Rodney, and died in a car accident. And he was my idol. He was the one I was looking up to, and sort of my little brother Kev hanging out, but sort of lost my direction in life and just floated through school. I suppose tried to put on that I was all good, but really broken on the inside. And yeah, I suppose my mother brought us to church because of a lot of what they call Māori curses on the family, makutus. And so through those curses, she started taking us to church and stuff. And the only way that we got us there was because we got a free ice cream. So it was me. But my father, being a Navy man and not wanting to know anything about the Lord, he would just come into the church and drag us out, drag mum out, drag my brother out, and didn't want us to be in church. But just started to see a whole lot of things happening, like demons coming out of people, and mum prayed, and started seeing a lot of demonic activity, and then knowing about the power of the name of Jesus. And so slowly I started to turn my life around. I got attacked by a demon, and that was my turning point in my 20s. Then learnt the power. And the Lord came into my life and started doing the same thing my mother was doing.
Wow. Just to jump back a little bit, you're talking about your mum started to engage you in church because you were experiencing the outworking of curses.
Yeah.
And then your eyes began to open up a lot more to the supernatural realm.
Yeah.
For people that don't, have much awareness of, the power of blessings and curses, and you just unpack a little bit, because it's kind of just brushed over it there. I was like, oh, hello. Unpack that for me a little bit.
Well, how it really started was my father got the manager's job in this area and in Atimuri, and one of the workers there put a curse on him because he wanted the job. So a makutu is pronouncing a curse, so he did a ritual, put a curse on the family, and from that curse my father started losing weight. This is before pee was even invented, and my dad was losing weight uncontrollably. My mother had a premature birth of my brother, and I was 2 years old, and I got burns where I fell into the hot baths in Waikiki Valley, Nakuru area, and we were all put in hospital, all because of that curse. My mother reached out and started to pray and got people praying to break the curse, and the curse ended up breaking. That guy ended up getting off work because somehow the curse reversed on him, and Mum started to do the Lord's Prayer and started praying.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was, and then from there, my mother just continually started following the word and went on a rampage, praying over the whole family, and praying over people and seeing people getting set free of demons, and it was just pretty amazing. Through my mother, she went and reached our whole family.
Wow.
The whole Māori side got saved. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing.
Hey, just while we're there too, I just want to honour you, Dee, for sharing that part of your life of being sexually abused, because it was actually you that gave me the kaha, the strength to share about my abuse, because I'd never shared it before until I started hearing you say it all the time. I was like, oh, bro, solid, he's getting it off his chest, and sharing it, and it's no longer has a hold over you. And the only people that knew about me being abused was my wife and my mother, and but it was you, by being bold enough to continue to share it. It freed me, bro.
Yeah.
So I always honour you for that, eh?
On that, Lucky and Daryl, I know that as I've been following you both and the wider Kingdom Brotherhood, sharing your stories, going into different huis with the different gangs, you often open up the first night with talking about your traumas, and the traumas being the birthplace of our pain, our anger, and our addiction. And I know that Lucky will pull a lot more of your story out in the film. But for those who are watching right now, Daryl's talking a little bit about his trauma. Did you want to take a moment for those watching to share a little bit about your trauma and some of those things, just and the understanding for us of the scoops of trauma that we get and how that impacts our life?
Yeah, well, I guess my trauma was, aren't we supposed to be here interviewing this fella?
Oh, I know, but I'm just going to spin around,
But on the paper, the subjects that we deal with in church groups, in the gangs, in community programs that we run, the trauma, there's a list of traumas that we all go through, and my traumas were all that. They came from domestic violence, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, alcoholism, the whole range of all the ugliest stuff you can think of. And they're all mixed into one, and we all when we're all birthed, we all get a scoop of trauma. Nobody misses out. Some of us get a few more scoops than others, and the gathering place for us is we become addicts of some way, shape or form. We all do. It's part and parcel of the fruit from trauma. Is how it breaks the rest of our lives. It destroys the rest of our lives until we deal with it and deal with it openly, so it doesn't have a hold over us. And I every time I go back into my traumas, the worst thing was my father shooting my dog. Of all the things, that's still the one that gets me in my heart. And it was something that loved me. There wasn't love in our house. But that dog loved me, and and it was my dog. And when he shot it, that did something to me inside. It robbed me. I was 8, and so these traumas have an effect on us. And although I'm healed with it, and I don't suffer with the fruits from that trauma anymore, it's still a painful thing to talk about sometimes. And it's just that memory, eh? But when we share our traumas in front of people, it gives them a safe platform for them to share.
Yeah.
That's what the whole thing is about. So just confessing.
Yeah. So with Kingdom Brotherhood, I'm going to open this question up to you both. So we have Kingdom Brotherhood, and I've got a great understanding now of what it is because I've been on the road and experiencing this. But tell me, what is the Kingdom Brotherhood for those watching right now who have got no idea? Because I've come with you into the lion's den of some of the toughest gang environments. I've also been in with beautiful little old ladies, powerhouses as well.
Yeah.
So the Kingdom Brotherhood and the power of Jesus Christ within that to see people set free, because he is the bedrock that everything that you're doing is really built on, what he's done in your lives. So share with me both about this. Maybe we'll start with you, D.
So Kingdom Brotherhood, it's about freedom. It's all about freedom, and it's about healing. And a lot of people can look at the t-shirts, or they could look at Lucky and go, oh, it's
He's
about,
too good looking to be true.
it's about reaching the gangs and stuff, but because it's Jesus and it brings healing. Isaiah 61, he heals the brokenhearted, just to get this free, unlocks the prison doors. And that part about confession in James 5 verse 16, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you shall be healed. And that's the whole part about the confession. And in it, God is, it doesn't matter what flavour you put on it, it's the Word of God. It doesn't matter how you make it look, it's Jesus. And keeping it together, it's all about love. It's loving one another and loving your brothers, loving your sisters, and there's definitely no label on love.
Myself being a pastor for a good part of my life, I know that the Christian world could look at you guys going into churches, youth ministries and things like that and going, oh, that's awesome. Have you come across a level of controversy or confusion from people when you're taking God's love into the gang environments? Because there's a lot of perception in there that goes, wow, the gangs are what's wrong with the country. If we get rid of the gangs, we can get rid of crime, we could get rid of meth. Why are you wasting your time? Could be the mindset that some people would have within the Christian world, outside of the Christian world. Why the gangs?
Why not the gangs? You know what, if we were to just say there was no gangs in this country right now, do you think there'd be no crime?
It's always crime.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It makes no difference. And why then? Because, I grew up and that was my history. And we didn't have people coming to love us. We were discarded and discredited, shunned, put down, made scapegoats, ridiculed, all the rest of all the ugly stuff. That's still happening today. And if we didn't go there, who would? You don't see the churches lining up to get into the gangs to go and make relationships and get things sorted. And that's not putting down the churches. The first thing they'll say is, oh, well, that's your walk and that's where you're called. No, not at all. I mean, you see me with that ladies group. That's not my walk.
Yeah.
I went where I'm called. I've just got to go and to love on those that need to be loved and helped and help bring healing. That's an excuse when we say, that's your lane. It's not my lane. Yeah, I grew up in that. Of course it is, but I mean, those women aren't my lane. Being with the pastors when we're doing pastors groups isn't my lane. I'm a pastor now, but we just need to step up, be bold, be courageous, and go where the need is biggest. And that is the biggest coalface.
Yeah.
And it's changing there. And I love the scripture where the last will be first and the first will be last, because the last is us. And we are now in the race and we are going to finish well. And we're putting in our heart, and along with our other Kingdom brothers and sisters, to reach those coalfaces where people fear to tread. I believe that when you stand in a lion's den, you better be a lion. And that's simple as that. That's that lion's heart. That you'll stop at nothing. But let's roll up our sleeves and let's go out there and help where we can help.
What was your journey into Kingdom Brotherhood? And, have you had the gang background the way that Lucky did? And how has it been for you coming into Kingdom Brotherhood and being involved in the gangs and loving those men and their families?
Okay, I'll also go back. So grew up as an ice cream Christian. And sort of, that
ice cream Christian.
There's those sort of ones. And so kind of left church at 18 and then went into the world and I suppose hung out with youth gangs, and was rolling with groups, and so in that, church will put you down and say, oh, these demon possessed or whatever, these guys are falling away from God, and so you started to get ostracized or whatever. People start putting you down, and I just remember getting in trouble with the police and stuff, and was almost gonna get a criminal record and stuff, and it was quite amazing. We had like 5 police cars and armed defenders chasing us, and we had all these guns in the back of the car, and yet we were guys that were we weren't bad fellas, but we got off on a diversion because first time offence, and my mother just kept telling me, you know, you gotta get your life right, get your life back into the Lord and stuff. So that was that taste of what it was to be, you know, did the drugs, did the different things. That was my taste. So fast forward from there, Mum got me back into Jesus, and then I started moving in the gifts of the Spirit. My mate had a demon in his house, and he wanted me to get rid of it. So I went and prayed, got rid of this demon, and then he wanted to get prayer, and then prayed over him, and then demons coming out of him, and it's like, whoa, what the heck? So I started getting into like far out all of the word. So I started moving in the ministry of deliverance and stuff from early 20s. Then further on, started getting into church, and then got saved, become a pastor. And then I went to a place called Living Waters, and I got healed of being abused, being molested, and my brother dying, and all those things that I was talked about in that first part. I got healed, and that was through those scriptures. But there was a part of my life too where I started to, because the Lord said to me, do you know why you're saving moths out of the hot pools? You're always saving the moths. Yeah, saving
around in there.
Saving the flies from my wife trying to spray them. Saving the cockroaches. And I go, I don't know, but I just want to do that. And the Lord goes, I've given you a heart for the unwanted. I've given you a heart for the despised, for what people are actually afraid of. I'll even save a wasp at a beach that's drowning in the water. I'll grab it with my own hands. I don't care if it stings me, because I want to save it. And so the same thing for the gangs and for the brothers is that we're going to go all out because of what the Lord's put on us, but see with God's love to go into those hard places and to reach people.
When did it start, Kingdom Brotherhood, and what are your hopes and dreams for the future going forward?
Okay, so Kingdom Brotherhood started about 2.5 years ago. I wrote the program, almost 4 years ago. It took me a long time, 1.5 years to write it. But it started about 2.5 years ago, and it's just growing. It's just growing as people go through the program. We set up the new kingdoms, set up from programs that people have been through. That's Kingdom Brotherhood, and it's also, it had such an impact on men's lives that the wahine, the women, seen noticeable differences in their partners that they thought, we need this for our women. So then the Kingdom Sisterhood started. That program also gets done with youth. We run those programs, so that's the Kingdom Brotherhood. So it's happening in the churches. They're only run in churches. And Daryl and I go and set them up, and then somebody will come to the surface that we can leave it with and give the program to start running it for their group. So that's Kingdom Brotherhood and Sisterhood. Kingdom Ministry is that same program. The Kingdom Brotherhood is actually mainly for saved and unsaved. When we go to the gangs, then that's Kingdom Brotherhood. But Kingdom Ministries is what Daryl and I do now for the churches. We set up their leadership and redo some of their leadership, get some structure in there, and we run a program for them. It's about building a foundation for their church.
Right.
Okay, and that foundation is built on intimacy, of knowing each other well. Daryl and I just came back from Invercargill. We've done quite a few now, and there's a lot to do for this coming year. And you see the difference in the churches and them grow. Kingdom Ministry is also, we ran an event last year in Christchurch, this year in October. Geez, time's going fast, but we've got 4 to do this coming year. That's part of Kingdom Ministries. Kingdom Ministry is also doing youth events. It's also this coming year. and also for father and sons.
Right.
Because we see the breakdown is between fathers and sons. You know, I come from a background of 4 generations broken, right back to my great-grandfather. Goodness knows what my great-grandfather's relationship was like with his father. So we're bringing that back and doing groups for fathers and sons, bringing healing. Because the healing is peace, freedom and peace. That's what it's all about, is freedom and peace. So that's the difference with the ministry. So the ministry is more church-based.
What do you do for yourselves as leaders when you're still hitting those hard times? Because we never become immune to the trials and challenges of life. It keeps throwing mud and curveballs. How do you keep holding on to the hope and the reality of who Christ is and what he's done for you in the middle of storms?
My last storm was just before I ran the conference in Christchurch. It was called Ignite the Fire, and you know, I was being disqualified by the deceiver and the prince of lies of who are you, who do you think you are, what do you think you're doing, nobody's going to turn up, you're going to end up with a huge bill, blah, blah, blah. And I started believing those lies. And I don't fall easily. And this was the first time I'd been in depression since my life changed. And I started believing these lies. I had to turn my phone off. I stayed in my room for 6 days. I kept the curtains closed. I couldn't speak to anybody. And I'm the person going around telling everybody to speak up and share it and ring and contact. Don't isolate. I knew all of this. I knew all of that. But I just couldn't reach out. And because I had to keep showing face that things were going to go ahead okay. I was living lies. I was living fake. And, you know, I went to church. I went to the C3 church in Manukau. I said to my wife, she was locking me in our property. I couldn't get out of my own property. I didn't want to, but nobody could get in. I was safe. This was every day. I was back in jail. And I said to her on a Friday, I said, hey, listen, I've got to go to Auckland and unwind. And so we came up and long story short, we had a nice couple of days together, and then we went to church. And while we were at church at C3 in Manukau, while the worship was on, I just prayed in tongues. And then the Lord got me and showed me what he'd brought me through. So I tell anybody to go back and start thinking about what he's brought you through already, and to grow your faith again, strengthen your faith. And he showed me what he'd brought me through and where I was that day. Yeah. And I'd overcome it there and then, just like that. It was gone, done and dusted. Because I got my faith built again, because my faith was struggling. My belief had never changed, but we get robbed of our faith, and we're all challenged by it. And but just go back into your life and look back at what he's brought you through, some of these massive challenges. He will not leave you, because he said that, I will not leave you. And here's a role for us all to do, you know. And we can't do it. We're stuck inside a room and not getting up and keeping the curtains pulled. Yeah. So that was mine, but
yeah. How about for you, mate?
So yeah, it can come and go, and like with the people that you're working with, and especially in the spiritual realm too, a lot of things can come on you: oppression, depression, and even in our groups that we run. So we'll be running a series of groups. It could be a women's group, a men's group, or and then a trigger will come because somebody's story, and all the Lord's doing is just highlighting another layer to come off our lives. It's another layer coming off. And I just remember one time, would have been down south, and it was in a ladies group, and they were talking about anger, and it just, I wanted to yell. I actually did yell. I actually screamed like, rah, like yelling. And I said, all I want to do is put an elbow through the church wall, because it just brought up a memory of things. And they prayed for me. And we ran in the groups. I said, pray for me, because this is the whole thing. It says to pray for one another. Yeah. It's not just us healing you guys. We need to be in this together. We're invested. So if we're going through this and things are going to happen, we need all of us to activate and move in prayer. Yeah. Another time, I remember being at one of the Black Power one in Rotoki, and I asked you to pray for me, remember? Because it talked about about the potential. Where do you see your potential? Yeah. And because I was running ministries, and I was pastoring a church, and had all these dreams and visions and aspirations, and when I went through my depression, I lost my purpose. Yeah. The power, the old power with no rock, it was lost. And when you asked the question, where does everybody see their potential? And I said, I'm about a 3. That's how I felt, because I was already on top of the mountain, and now I'm in a valley. And I just felt pretty dark, and here's me trying to encourage the brothers there. and yet I felt pretty low. So I said,
Yeah.
I need prayer. So, and I'm first to give people prayer. So when I asked you, I said, come pray for me for a walk, and just that praying for one another, you know, confessing what's on your heart, and then got healed again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need one another.
We do.
We can't fake
Confess.
it. You can't fake it. You
Yeah.
have to be open and honest all the time.
That's one of our scriptures, is confess our sins to one another, because the prayer of a righteous person
Yeah.
has great power as it is working.
Mm.
And man, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the themes that's coming through as we're talking is really actually is community and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Being real in community,
Yeah.
but with the power of Christ at the centre of
Yeah.
it. Because with what you were sharing before, and you as well, is we can, you even said, I knew all the things,
Yeah.
not to isolate this, and this. But even when we have all the tools and the resources, sometimes we still feel incredibly lost, but Jesus comes into the middle of our
That's
chaos and he delivers us
That's
from
right.
it. Like he keeps being faithful.
Yeah.
Even when we stop holding on to him, he keeps holding on
Yeah.
to us. To wrap everything up in a bow today, if you like, hurting people hurt others.
Yeah.
Healed people bring healing to others.
Yeah.
It's about community. It's about vulnerability, humility, and the power of God in the middle of all of that
Yeah.
to bring healing to families, that can bring healing to communities.
Yeah.
And the Kingdom Brotherhood has a heart to be at the coalface of that, within the gangs, but also within the churches, the older generations of youth, wherever it is needed the most, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Lucky, really looking forward over the next few days to connect more with some of the people that you're on this journey with. Daryl, thank you so much for your time and with us today. It's been awesome hearing your hearts.
Always.
Always.
Fantail Studios is a registered charity creating powerful shows through the help of generous givers. To find out more about supporting Mana Atua and helping us bring this incredible film to life, please visit fantailstudios.com.